Hi, welcome back. I'm Shirley Jackson, and this is the Clever Artist Show. We want to thank our sponsors, Artistic Treasures, who are located at 142 Cabarrus Avenue East, Concord, North Carolina, 28025. Their phone number is 704-782-5381. Once again, their phone number is 704-782-5381. Today joining me is a very dear friend and a very, very talented artist. And her name is Cindy Sipp. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Shirley. Thank you.
And one thing I want to do before we get into a whole lot of information, please tell people how to get a hold of you.
Well, there's two ways. You can come and see me at the Artistic Treasures. I'm in one of the booths. So you have to go through all the vendors to find me, but I am the one that has some beautiful quilts in the background.
So in other words, you're hidden in the store.
Yes. I'm a hidden treasure.
There you go. You're the hidden treasure. By the way, we have a hidden treasure. You have to find her. She's located somewhere in the store, and we won't tell you where. No, I'm just teasing.
Also, I work out of my home. I have a studio in my home, and that is at 983 North Salisbury, GQ Avenue in Salisbury, North Carolina. And you can reach me at 716-490-1654. Yes, that is a 716-490-1654.
Now, you also have a Facebook page, which you admitted to me that you hardly ever use. But we're going to change that, right?
Thanks, Shirley. Oh, you're going to be my mentor. Yes, we're going to change that.
Okay, so tell people your Facebook page.
And my Facebook page is Center of Creation on Facebook. I don't see, this is how new I am to this whole Facebook stuff. So we're going to change this.
Yes.
Center of Creation is what I know it is.
Right. And it's Center of Creation, but there's no gaps, and it's just all one word. Correct?
I believe so.
Well, no, I'm asking because when people look at my website, it's and then the little minus sign, clever, the little minus sign again, artist.com. So when people try to find me, they type in the Clever Artist, all one word, but it doesn't come up. So I had people asking me, well, what is the name of your website? But my Facebook page is like yours. It's all one word, the Clever Artist. So
if they can't find me that way, they can find me under Cindy Sipp.
Okay.
So they'll get to me one way or another till I get my
You know I'm
my
going to get a lot
face-
of phone calls, right?
Yes. Don't worry. Shirley will direct you.
Yes, I'm the director of all the phone numbers in the website.
Well, you know what? We wear many hats. Us as women, we wear many hats. So,
Well, really, it's not just us women. I think it's artists in general. We have such a creative mind and a creative aspect that regardless of whether we're male or female, the artists, we wear many hats. We are the creative portion, we're the hobbyist, we're the business person, we do all of our marketing, we do all of our sales, we do all the packaging, the shipping. I mean, seriously, we actually do and have so many different hats. There's days where I go, okay, it's time to ship, time to put on this hat, and I'm in shipping mode, and everything is packaged up nice and neat, and, to make sure that it's ready to go out, make sure it's not damaged, and then once it's damaged, I kind of go, okay, that hat's off, it's time to go into another mode.
Absolutely.
So, but let's say this. I know you have some really pretty articles on you today. A beautiful jacket. Now, you have a beautiful jacket and also this gorgeous, gorgeous little, what is this, a shawl? Not a shawl.
It's a scarf.
A scarf. It tells you how much I wear them, right? Yeah. I don't even know the name of it. Here, let's see. It's beautiful. It's red, and it's white and gray and black. Actually, it's really pretty. I mean, there's times where I've seen those, and I've seen people wear them, and they look really good on them, but I tried one time, and, I'm such a fluffy person that my I have a short neck, so it made me look like I had no neck whatsoever. And that's not good because it just looks like my body, and then here's my face. You know?
Well, personally, this scarf was actually a gift from my home ec teacher. She was one of the blessings of my early years in my creativity. And in high school, in home ec, if you didn't finish a project, you didn't get a grade.
Awesome.
And to this day, after 30-some years, I still keep in touch with her.
Oh, how wonderful.
And she's just a sweetheart, and, you know, she's like a second mom. And so this was a gift to her, or from her. I personally don't make these.
Oh, well, see, there we go.
One of my other dear friends does, so, you know, if they really want one, it can be created.
And just contact Cindy, not me, so that way if you do want one of these scarves, then you know who to contact. All right, so what do you do?
Well, I do have other scarves in my booth at Artistic Treasures. I have some hand-painted scarves, or hand-dyed scarves.
I was going to say, I didn't know you painted.
No, I don't paint.
I was going to say, that's news to me.
They're hand-dyed. And so those are there. I have some purses that are handmade in there, also in my booth as well. They are actually machine washable with many pockets on the inside, because us as ladies never have enough pockets to keep things organized. And that is one thing, that's one of my pet peeves, is I hate going to the register and digging through a purse. I just want to be able to reach in and get what I need. And so I created these. I created enough pockets that everything can be stored and accessed easily. And also, you know how us women are. We always get something spilled or dumped in our purse, and it's like, how do you clean this up? You take the bottom out and you toss it in the wash.
Well, here's the funny part. It's not just me that does it, but sometimes my grandkids. I have a grandson who's 3, and he thinks that my purse is a toy.
Oh, yeah.
So one day he takes this bottle of soda, and the cap wasn't all the way on it. So he sticks it. He doesn't just, it wasn't upright either. He didn't just, politely put it in there. He dumps it upside down, and he looks at me and goes, oops. And I just want to go, that wasn't an oops. That was, let's destroy Grammy's purse while we have a chance. So, so it's not just us. If you have kids or grandkids, you never know what's going to happen to your purse.
Or you slam on the brake and the purse goes flying off the seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Along with, we won't mention hot dogs or something you may be, having, in your car while you're driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won't mention those things either. We're supposed to be on diets and losing weight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the one thing I admire about you is that you make quilts.
Yes.
And they're not just thrown together quilts. They are very detailed with designs in them. And, these are quilts like you would have found 50, 60, 70 years ago or more.
Yes, I'm not a traditional quilter. I go from tradition to modern. And so I love to do custom work for people. That's what I prefer to do than just having quilts in my booth or at a location, maybe at a craft fair or wherever, to sell, because I want you to have that perfect color or that perfect design or whatever element you need in your quilt. And they're all from baby size all the way up to king size. So there's just a variety.
Now, how long have you been quilting?
I've been quilting for 21 years.
That's a long time.
I started out making clothes for my children. When they were little, I could literally take a yard of fabric and make a little shirt and a pair of shorts for my boys out of a yard of fabric, because in everybody is in a tight budget.
Right.
I could take a lot of 1 yard of fabric and make a lot of outfits. And then I'm like, well, what do I do with my leftover remnants? Well, one of my girlfriends says, well, why don't you make a quilt? I'm like, well, how do you do that? And she told me how to do a quilt. she got me started. In 8 hours, I had my first quilt done.
8 hours?
I was bitten. They call it bitten by the bug. When you
Really?
have a quilting bug and you love it, it's now your passion. And I had my first one done. Yes, it was only tied. It wasn't hand quilted or anything. And it was just squares put together. But you know what? My boys still have that quilt today.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yes. And so, so that's what got me started. And then I worked at a quilt shop. I moved from Western New York about 4 years ago. And so I started working there, and it was just like, oh, I just found my passion and my love. And it's like, I just want to be able to do this full time. And so it's been a wonderful trip.
Now, the one thing about regardless of whether it's quilting or some type of art form, most people will tell you that you either instantly love it or you instantly hate it and wish that you had never ever saw those items ever. So the one thing that I really, really admire about you is that you take not just quilts, but you take material, and I've seen you make runners for tables.
Yes.
And one thing that's real popular, Artistic Treasures, is that you took a design of this giraffe, and it had a ruler on it, so you could stand a child there and measure the child's growth. And that has been very popular. You've sold several of those.
It's actually it's a coordinate. There's a baby quilt that matches that. But in this day and age, our families move so often. I mean, in the old days, they used to mark the door jamb.
Right.
And, you could go back, oh, I see when Johnny was here and then Susie was there.
There's all these marks going up the wall.
Well, they move
Right.
so often, they can't take the door jamb with them. And so
Well,
now,
they could, but it's not practical.
or the house wouldn't resell. But also now
Or if you're renting, it's not a good thing.
Yes, you might have to cover over that. And so, but now I have a little wall hanging that you can actually put on the wall and measure the child and write on that with a permanent marker, and you can take it with you. And so I have the giraffe, and I have one that has sheep, and I have one that has some wild, funky little birds on it. It's just really fun. And so you never know what you're going to find there, because pretty much everything I do is almost one of a kind. I might have a onesie-twosie type of thing, but, I don't like to do a whole lot of duplicate stuff. I like original stuff.
Right.
Unique stuff.
And that way people have something that's unique and it's original. And we had a lady that was through here when we did our Christmas in October. Do you remember that event?
Oh, yes.
Oh, that was so much fun. But we had this one lady that was so excited because she found this beautiful quilt, and it had butterflies on it. You remember? It
Yes.
was very colorful. It had all these butterflies on it. This very original design. And she brought it up to the counter, and she said, I'm buying this quilt for my mom for Christmas. And I said, oh, how wonderful. I said, well, we offer free gift wrapping. Would you like it to be gift wrapped? And she said, oh, that would be great. And I happened to look over her shoulder, and you were standing there, and I couldn't resist myself. I said, well, behind you is the artist, and she'll be more than happy to gift wrap it for you. And you went, oh, sure I will. And you took it, and you you just followed my lead, and you took that quilt, and you wrapped it up in Christmas paper. And the lady, the expression on her face, I never will forget it. I don't think winning the lottery would have surpassed the expression on her face, that she's like, I can't believe that the artist herself took time to actually gift wrap this for my mother so I could give it to her for Christmas.
Honestly, I've done that quite frequently. I've had men come and say, this is the quilt I want. And when I was back in New York, I had one gentleman drive 3 hours one way to pick up a
Wow.
quilt.
Awesome.
And there's a couple times I had a couple questions on how we wanted to do this, and I had to be very careful not to give anything away. But I had it in a huge box, and I had a piece of firewood in the bottom, so it was heavy. I had that wrapped, so the box had some weight. It was totally gift wrapped. The only thing the gentleman had to do was put a bow and a beautiful Christmas card. And he was set.
Oh, how wonderful.
So, yes.
And you know that, and to be honest with you, that means so much, because nowadays, when you go shopping, I mean, no offense, don't get me wrong, but when you go shopping at Kmart or Walmart or Target or any of those places, if they do offer gift wrapping, I guarantee it's not going to be by the person who designed it or the person who created it. It's going to be an employee. And, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but it actually means so much more that it actually was, gift wrapped by the artist himself. And that's what's so unique about Artistic Treasures, is because people can come in and they can shop for the unique gift. And a lot of times, not every time, but a lot of times, the artist is here and they step up and volunteer to gift wrap it.
And it's those special stories that makes that gift that much more special.
Right. That makes it unique, and it can be passed down from generation to generation. Speaking of that, I know that behind us on the wall, and I know that this is a very personal story for you, but behind us on the wall is this very gorgeous, beautiful, one-of-a-kind quilt.
Yes.
And it's the reason why it's one of a kind is because it actually has a uniform from a Marine.
Yes.
And he was your son.
Mm-hmm.
Now don't cry on me. It's
I'm
not
okay.
allowed.
Okay.
But why don't you tell us the story behind it?
Well, this was Lance Corporal Alex Michael Thomas, and he went in the Marines 10 days after he graduated high school. He was in the Marines for almost 18 months. And he didn't make it to Iraq, and he is one of the statistics of suicide in the military.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, honey.
And our men and women need to get more help there.
I agree.
Coming home while they're in, I'm sorry, he was 20. And these kids, young men, I call them kids, are seeing things they should never, ever, adults should never, ever see. But you know what? Thank God for our military. Thank God that they step up and they do those jobs. And so I lost him on May 8th of 2008. After I had his clothing, all of his personal items returned, I had this wall quilt made in probably about 8 weeks after I had his military things. And this was the first article I had made. Anything on any memorial or any memory quilts. And I've made several quilts for other people after that. They have lost loved ones. So I know the button or the little treasures. I mean, Alex had, as I was ripping his uniforms apart, there was a blood stain on his elbow where he had, a scratch. And it was like, that's mine. Sorry. That gets in a special spot.
That gets put away just for you.
Yes.
Exactly.
And so when I do those memory quilts for other people, every little scrap gets saved. Because, and it gets put in a pillowcase. And it gets returned to the customer. Because it's not for me to throw away. It's in their time. It's for them to, however they need to take care of it.
Right.
But I had made his wall quilt, and that hung in my living room. And then I made 2 more full-size quilts and a lap quilt that folded into a pillow for the Marines. One for his best buddy on base and one for his roommate. And the lap quilt for the Marine that brought him home.
Oh, how wonderful.
And I went back to the base and presented those to him.
Oh.
And they were amazed. And the funny thing is his best buddy, because I took this wall portrait with me, and I said, Harrison, I said, please, could you make sure his pins are in the right spot? Because I know there's
right. There's a certain way that they had in order to have.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
yes.
you know, so they were proper. And he took a deep breath, and I said, I'm sorry if it's too hard. It's okay. Mm-hmm. And he says, no, ma'am. He says, Thomas would always say, am I square? Are my pins straight? Are they right?
Aww.
And it was just like, and so it was those stories that are treasures. And so when people ask me to create things from a loved one that has passed, mm-hmm. I take that very personal.
Now, for those people who, this is a radio station, so what we'll do is when we come back from our break, I want you to tell the people what you use to make this quilt and why it's so special. I want to thank you for joining me. My name is Shirley Jackson. This is The Clever Artist, and we will be back in just a few moments with our guest, Cindy Sipp, and she is going to tell you what she made out of her memory quilt.